Hello?
Hey Josh, I left my Define S and R6 in the same room together last night, and now there's a third case. Like, what's going on?
Oh, right. They must have had a baby. Let me guess. It's got a PSU shroud, flexible liquid cooling, and USB-C?
Yeah, actually. Wait, hold on. How do two computer cases, make a baby?
Look, I don't have time to explain this to you. You need to know how humans do it first. I gotta go.
Okay. Okay, I gotta ask you guys. Do you touch dust filters or something? Is lube even non-conductive? Is there thermal paste involved? And if so, where does it go? No? Staying silent, okay. Good talk.
Just wrap it up next time. I'm running out of space.
The Define S2 from Fractal Design features front panel USB-C, ample water cooling support, and a clean interior layout for your next custom build. Click the link below to learn more.
Alrighty, so we're doing a GPU showdown today. It's going to be sort of a battle on multiple fronts because not only are we comparing add-in board partners, we're also sort of battling out different GPU architectures with Pascal and Turing going head-to-head. So it should be pretty exciting, guys. On the left, or my left, your right, I have the EVGA GeForce GTX 1080 Ti for the Win 3, and in the other corner we have the ASUS ROG Strix RTX 2080 Gaming OC. It's a classic battle of old versus new. But don't underestimate the GTX 1080 Ti just yet. It's still a very relevant card here in 2018 with superior pricing and availability to the RTX series. So hold on to your butts, people, because these cards are coming in hot. Not into your butt, just in general. It's an expression. Why do you look disappointed? Now, a moment ago, I briefly mentioned pricing and availability, so let's talk about that really quick. On Amazon right now, you can find this EVGA card for a whopping $810-ish US, which is pretty steep IMO. However, it is in stock and you can purchase it right now. On the other hand, the Strix RTX 2080 is going for $869 on Newegg right now, which is not a whole lot more than our For the Win 3 card when you're paying nearly $1,000 for a graphics card. Because RTX is a fresh GPU launch, it's near impossible to find these cards right now at semi-reasonable rates, and it could be weeks if not months until we see them reach normal supply levels. Also, you should definitely consider other GTX 1080 Ti's that aren't this one, because there are cheaper options out there that can be had for a lot less than either of the cards we're talking about today. So moving on to the overall design of these cards, aesthetics, I'm not gonna go over really because that's highly subjective, but size is definitely objective. So both of these cards actually have the exact same length at 11.8 inches. However, the EVGA card is about half an inch taller, so if you're anticipating GPU height clearance to be an issue in your case, that's something to be aware of. I do like the fact that this card keeps a very strict 2-slot design because that's certainly not the case on our Strix card. With a 2.7 slot cooler, this thing is incredibly thick, and I can see two main concerns here. The first of which is mounting it vertically inside of your case. The GPU shroud might be rubbing up against your tempered glass side panel too closely and cutting off any circulation or airflow to the fans. That would not be good. Similarly, in a mini ITX case with a power supply basement, that PSU shroud could be rubbing up too closely to the bottom of your card, and that could also result in some heating issues. So things to be aware of in those specific scenarios. Now, if you're into RGB lighting, you might be disappointed that the Strix isn't the most conducive to vertical mounting because most of its lighting elements are on that side of the shroud. There's a little bit of backlit ROG branding on the front, but it's definitely not as much. And we have 100% of our lighting on the front side of our EVGA card. You can see it's just very blatant in your face. No lighting whatsoever on the bottom of the card. So if you vertically mounted this guy, you wouldn't be able to see much lighting unless you were looking from above. Both cards have dual 8-pin power connectors and BIOS switches to target performance or acoustics, but the Strix card also has a stealth button that'll allow you to kill all the RGB lighting in one fell swoop. It also has an addressable, a 12-volt 4-pin addressable RGB LED header and two 4-pin PWM fan headers on it that will ramp up or down depending on the temperatures of your GPU. As far as GPU sag is concerned, the GTX 1080 Ti has virtually no sag. It's pretty straight across the board. It feels very secure when mounted in there. The Strix has the slightest amount of GPU sag. It's so minimal that most people won't notice unless they're actively looking for it. I think my main concern here is how much worse that might get over time due to that thicker, heavier heatsink. Now, the rear I/O on graphics cards is typically not very interesting, but I think it's worth pointing out that the RTX cards are featuring that new Virtual Link USB Type-C connector, so that if you want to seamlessly connect a next-generation VR headset, you can do so over a single USB Type-C cable. Both of these cards have received the triple fan treatment, but the GPU on the Strix card is actually staying about 2 degrees cooler on average, thanks to several things, including these new axial tech fans that increase the amount of static pressure that's firing downward onto the fin array. The larger fin stack in general is just providing more surface area, and then you've got things like the max contact technology from ASUS that they've carried over from the previous generation. All those elements make this the quieter card as well. That's not to say that our 1080 Ti is super loud or anything. It's actually got really good acoustics, but the ASUS card is just bragging rights at this point. It's just so impressive how damn silent it is under load. So here's a quick sound test so you can hear for yourself. Now, both of these cards ship factory overclocked, but that doesn't mean we can't push them further. So you can see here that we actually had a bit more headroom on our core clock for our Strix card. So I was actually able to push the core clock offset for that a lot further, whereas our EVGA card clearly had more headroom when it came to memory. These are the final settings that I used for all of today's testing, along with the latest driver from NVIDIA, that's WCL driver 416.16. Jumping into our benchmarks, you can see in Firestrike Ultra, the GTX 1080 Ti has a pretty substantial lead, but as we've seen in the past, this doesn't always reflect real-world performance, as we're about to see in a bit. As far as game testing goes, I did omit 1080p benchmarks, one, because I wanted to reduce the amount of CPU bottlenecking so that we could just see these cards shine without being bogged down by any CPU performance, and two, because of relevancy. I think if you're buying a card that's $700 or more, you're probably gonna be gaming at resolutions higher than 1080p. So with that said, here's a look at our 1440p results. You can see I've bunched all the games together today. Now, apart from Pascal edging out Turing in Ashes of the Singularity, the results here are basically identical. Remember, there's a margin of error here from 1 to 2%, and even our 1% lows are basically the same across the board. So it seems, at least at 1440p, if performance is the only thing you care about, you really can't go wrong with either of these cards. It's a pretty split draw. I thought maybe things would change a little at 2160p, but no! Same story here, and it looks like EVGA has added Doom to its short list of victories, but apart from that, this is the closest performance stalemate between two GPUs that I've seen in quite some time. What the scores do show us is that these cards can easily hit 100 FPS at 1440p and 60 FPS at 4K in most AAA titles at max settings. Now, wrapping things up here, if you're absolutely set on purchasing one of these pricier high-end options, the Strix RTX 2080 is the go-to card if you care about early adopter technologies like ray tracing, DLSS, and next-gen VR. There's always that risk with early adopting because you don't know how the technology is going to perform, let alone if you're going to enjoy it in the first place. So that's something that you'll have to decide for yourself. The Strix definitely runs cooler and quieter than its competitor, but it's also the bulkier of the two, so it's less ideal for vertical mounting and mini ITX cases. Now, if you want a GPU stat, if you need one right now, then go with the For the Win 3, because this card is actually available right now. You can purchase it today if you wanted to. Like I just said, it's not as cool or quiet as the Strix, but noise and temps are still great overall. Just beware if GPU height clearance is an issue in your case. This is a tall card. Now, if you want my personal take and you just want me to decide for you, I would go with the RTX 2080 just because it's the newer architecture. It still has a long way to go. There's still a lot of optimizations that can be had in the driver and game development department, whereas, I don't know, the 10 series has kind of run most of its course at this point, and we're probably not gonna see much more improvement with future driver releases as we will with RTX. Hypothetical scenarios aside though, I would highly suggest that you guys check out some of the other GTX 1080 Ti offerings that can be had for quite a bit less money than either of these cards, despite their power and beauty. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Feel free to toss a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and get subscribed for more tech content on the way. If you'd like to start watching my videos a whole week early without ads, you can check me out on FLOATPLANE for $3 a month. I'll put a link for that in the video description. Till next time, guys, thanks again for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.